Okay, brace yourselves because I'm about to do something that may blow your minds. Over the past month or so, I've gotten a few messages and comments from people who have accused me of being somewhat critical of the WWE. I know, right? Me, critical? I'm as shocked as you are. But to put those naysayers at ease, I'm now going to do something very uncharacteristic, and I'm going to compliment the WWE in a few things. Now, I'm dead honest when I say this, okay? I'll admit, I give them a lot of crap. But I'm also a fair person, and I have to say that the WWE product has improved lately somewhat. I mean, as a matter of fact, this past month is probably the most WWE programming I've watched in years. I mean, I don't know what caused this recent creative change, but lately anything involving Edge or Chris Jericho and Shawn Michaels has been pure gold. I mean, hell, I started watching SmackDown again for the first time in a long time just to see the segments with Edge because they were so good. Even SummerSlam, which I still maintain was a weak show overall, was elevated by the performances of those three guys. Now, the question we need to ask ourselves now is, do these two storylines signify the beginning of a new creative renaissance in the WWE, or are they just two random flukes? Well, you know what? I sure hope it's the former. I doubt it, since the rest of their show has been just the same as always, but I would love for the WWE to be great again like they used to be. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. For right now, instead of assuming the worst about them, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt on this one. I'm going to give them a chance to prove me wrong. So stay tuned, and we'll see how this develops from here. The ball's in your court now, Vince. What happens next is up to you. Okay, I'm going to start out by touching on the Gail Kim situation again just briefly, because one of my subscribers asked me in my comments what I thought about her jumping ship. My first reaction to it was shock, because Gail was one of the last people in TNA, man or woman, that I thought would ever leave for McMahon country. I was angry about it because TNA had been pushing her so hard. I mean, they were pushing her ahead of a lot of people, like Roxy and Angelina in particular, and then she just gets up and walks out the door. And I don't blame Gail for that. I mean, I blame TNA for building storylines around a person whose contract was about to expire, which is just an idiotic thing to do under any circumstances. I mean, even if they assumed that she was going to re-sign with TNA, anyone who remembers the Monday Night Wars will tell you that's something you can't ever leave to chance. And I was a little worried about what this means for the division, which just lost their figurehead, or at least the woman TNA wanted to be the figurehead. But you know what, the more I think about this, the more I'm starting to think that while this hurts TNA and the Knockouts division in the short term, definitely. I mean, in the long run, I think this might actually turn out to be a good thing. And I said this on the Extreme Regime board too, which I post on from time to time, that when it comes to the Knockouts, I think TNA to a large extent put all their eggs in one basket with Gail Kim. And I really started to notice this for the first time after Sacrifice a couple months ago, when Roxy, who was easily more over at the time, had her push halted and her feud with Angelina basically handed over to Gail. And what happened then? Gail beat Angelina at every turn, every single turn. So Roxy got shoved into the background and Angelina got squashed, all in the name of pushing Gail Kim. And this was tolerable as long as Gail kept delivering so well in her matches, but at some point you have to remember that there are other women on this roster too. And when you push Gail ahead of practically everyone, and then you don't take the necessary steps to keep her on the roster when her contract is up for renewal, you kind of screw yourself. So while I'm sad about Gail leaving TNA, you know what, I'm excited too. I'm excited about what the future holds for the division. I'm excited that this means more screen time is available and bigger pushes in store, hopefully, for Roxy and ODB and Angelina, because they all deserve it. And I'm excited that this means we might see some new faces in the division now. So this could end up being a good thing, because with Gail gone, it's going to force the Knockouts division to kind of reinvent itself. And you know what? Sometimes change is a good thing. And that's what I thought about Gail jumping ship. Hey, what's up you guys? FK9 here, back on the YouTube page, and I'm going to have to keep things short and sweet this week because of that other stuff that I put on at the start of this video that you just watched. This is the first Gail Kimless edition of Impact, and I think they did just fine without her, to be honest. I mean, you can definitely see them going into damage control mode a little bit, but I think it went pretty well, all things considered. Now it looks like ODB's finally getting that big push that people have been clamoring for a while. Roxy's back in the mix too. Really nice to see her in the ring with the beautiful people again. And I'm sorry, but that's where she should have been this whole time. And had Gail Kim not left last week, it probably would have been her in that spot in this match, and then the beautiful people would have been pointlessly jobbed out again. Instead, Angelina gets to look strong going into the match at the pay-per-view, so I like this a lot. The only thing that dragged this segment down was the presence of that old, washed-up, has-been, ratings-killing, couldn't wrestle a good match if the fate of the world depended on it, waste of human plasma, Kip James. Anyway, they also took the next step in this Tracy Brooks storyline, where she's now going to be sort of the Jim Cornette, or I guess the Jane Cornette, you could say, of the Knockouts division. Good progression with this angle. I was afraid that they were going to keep her being a referee for a while longer, which would have gotten redundant pretty quickly, I think. And they definitely teased that she might have to make some unpopular decisions in the future, and that sounds really intriguing to me. I think there's some good storyline potential here, I think. So we'll see where that one goes. And as per the title of the show, Sting Speaks, Sting finally came out to explain his actions over the last couple of months. Basically, he says he was thinking about retiring around Slammiversary a couple months ago when we saw that interview with him and Mike Tenay, but he was afraid of what would happen if he did, because he worries about TNA if he left it in the hands of a bunch of young guys who, in his opinion, in his mind, have no respect for him or the other veterans or the wrestling business. And he went and he singled out Samoa Joe, who he attacked at Victory Road. He singled out AJ Styles, who he attacked at Hard Justice. And he basically says, look, these guys were taking things too far. And he felt that he had to step in and force-feed them some respect, just as I explained to you guys previously. See? See, it all makes sense now, and it would have made sense this whole time if you just used your heads for a minute. See, it's not that difficult. Anyway, AJ Styles comes out. Sting says that he and the other veterans helped pave the road for guys like AJ, and like him or not, the young guys need to respect that. And AJ is not having anything about what Sting has to say. He's like, what are you, crazy? You didn't pave the road for TNA, I did. I've been here building this company from the ground up since day one. And it ends with Sting laying AJ out. This whole segment was awesome for so many reasons. First of all, the announcers were silent through this whole thing, which was very refreshing. And I love what they're doing with this Sting heel turn, because the best heels are always the ones who have legitimate gripes. The best heels are the ones who, when they explain the reasons why they're doing what they're doing, it makes you sit back and say to yourself, shit, they kind of got a point, don't they? So you still want to boo them, even though in a weird way you kind of have to sympathize with him a little bit. So Sting's doing what he thinks is right. Joe and AJ think Sting is full of shit, and both viewpoints are really hard to argue against. It's messy and complicated and morally gray on both sides, and it's absolutely beautiful the way they've set this thing up. I mean, this goes all the way back to Samoa Joe's promo about the selfish veterans at Turning Point back in December '07, and maybe even further back than that. And if you look closely, the stage seems to be set for Kurt Angle and Booker T and Kevin Nash, Jeff Jarrett, Christian Cage to get involved in this storyline. Maybe some more of the young guys too. I don't know. I hope so. But you can definitely see where all this is headed. Bound for Glory is not far off. But we've got one more stop before we get there, and this is exactly what the No Surrender hype needed. It's getting very exciting. Very, very exciting. So stay tuned.